So I'm going to talk about, our Drupal implementation, what we have been doing for the last years that we have been using Drupal, and what we will be doing going forward. And there are some triumphs and some challenges that we encountered and enjoyed through the journey. And this is all collective triumphs and challenges, right? So I just wanted to share that with everyone. So as you all mentioned, I'm Nikhil Deshpande. I'm the director for GeorgiaGov Interactive. And for those who don't know what GeorgiaGov Interactive is, and I know there are a few of you in the audience here who have not worked with us before, but are kind enough to show up for this event. So what we are is we are a centralized digital service for the state of Georgia. And we work with agencies and we collaborate with agencies to find the appropriate digital solutions for their needs. And our key offering has been a web publishing platform which is based on Drupal. And for that platform, we actually get this awesome opportunity to work with most of you. And that informs us about how we can further enhance our platform and the best we can do for our constituents, our end users. We also offer professional services in form of working with you on other things other than web, because we are way more than just somebody who can help you with your website, right? So we love to collaborate with you to find solutions for your content, for your data, for your social media, anything that requires your web presence to get enhanced. Essentially, we are tasked with working with you for a better collaboration between Georgia constituents and the state government. And lastly, but not the least, we run Georgia.gov, the best place you can find state agency information and services. Because Georgia.gov essentially aggregates all the information that you all have on your website, and then we highlight the appropriate information based on what users are seeking, what they're clicking on, what they're searching for. So it's an ever-evolving project for us. The content keeps changing based on our seasons, based on our events, and just because you are producing all that content at your level, we are able to feature that up on Georgia.gov. We run with a very basic philosophy, which is user first, content first, and mobile first. All right. Now you'll be asking, well, everyone's first, then who is really first? So when we plan something, when we plan a project, we always think about the user, right? There are a lot of times we get very tempted to think about how an organization works or how a technology is going to be implemented. But that can actually harm us in our project planning stages, because that's not what the purpose is. Our purpose is not to reflect. Yes, your website might be a reflection of your organization as far as your web presence is concerned, but it should not mimic your organization. Your website should actually be the speaking part of what your organization does for your constituents, right? So that's where the users come first. So in the planning phase, we're always users first. When we move to the design phase of how we design that solution, then we always have content as our first thing to go, because that's your message. That's what you want to pretty much base your solution on. And then last, when it actually comes to technical implementation, lately we have been seeing that people use our services, our websites, on their mobile devices a lot. And I'll be speaking a little bit about this later, but that's when we decided, everyone should have this mobile-first approach, because mobile kind of requires us to just deliver information to the core basics of what is it that you're trying to say, and then you can always scale it up at a desktop level. But at the mobile level, if you get it right, there's a good chance your desktop will work as well. So these are kind of like our three guiding principles or philosophy. Now, I've been lucky enough to kind of be invited to multiple events and venues across the nation and Canada to talk about what we're doing here in Georgia. And what I realized, I never really took time to actually have the same conversation here. I have been given talks about, what we have done, various flavors of this, different focus and different, I would say, implementation aspects when it came to maybe a content-based conference or a technical-based conference or an open source-based conference. But still, everyone's like really curious to know what Georgia has done because they've been reading about it. They've been reading about what we have done and how it's actually been beneficial from like a cost-saving perspective and just from a user experience perspective. So this talk is going to be pretty much a trifold talk, right? I'm going to be talking about why we did what we did as far as the Georgia's Drupal platform is concerned. I'm going to talk about some of the triumphs that we have had, and I'm going to definitely talk about some of the challenges we face doing this. All right, so let's talk about the Georgia Drupal platform, right? So for that, I'm going to have to kind of quickly go back and tell you where we started from. So back in the day, and honestly, this is kind of true. When I started working with GTA, most of the sites were like a standalone store, right? And everything, as far as the challenge that comes with running something like this, was part of that web agency's challenge to have the website running, right? So it was kind of like a mom and pop effort. Like someone had to make sure the servers are on, nothing goes down, the box under the table always has blinking lights. But also, the technology, right? What are we using? Most of the agencies use static sites, so every page had like its own existence. So there was no differentiation between content and a physical web page. And people were, sending that updates to maybe like a technology team who knew HTML and all the technology that goes in running websites, and they updated that, right? So, as far as the breakthrough is concerned, the security is concerned, whatever it is, everyone was on the hook to maintain that. Just like a store, they have to worry about not just their products and their, demand and supply chains, but also like what my checkout's going to look like. Do you just accept cash, or do you also accept cards? And which card? Amex charges 4%. So all of that stuff on top of like how do we drive customers there, right? So we decided back in 2001, let's just have a content management system. We'll at least take the technology aspect away and let's just have the agencies worry about everything else but the technology. So we implemented a content management system. But still, that content management system was pretty much based on, okay, everyone still has their own site, they have their own content, right? And then in 2010, when we tried to upgrade it to its most recent version, we kind of saw that, yeah, it's actually not the tool that's going to work for us. Because we had a lot of challenges, and some of you who have been with us for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to repeat that, but yes, there were challenges. So we decided, all right, we need to move to a solution that is actually open enough, flexible enough, stable enough, that truly helps us do what we want to do. And we found that solution in form of Drupal. And we were able to scale it. We were able to scale it to the level of what we are using it for, what we intended to use it for, and we can go even further more. But just to kind of give you an idea of the scale that we operate using this solution, this is 2015 numbers. At this point, we have 78 websites live on Drupal, and there are 57 agencies driving these 78 websites. There are a total of 107 million page views that happen in a typical year, 44 million sessions, and 8 million mobile sessions out of those sessions. And there are just about 558 content managers that are using the system with so much activity, so much traffic. I'm not even gonna get into the amount of content that is being hosted on this. And this is not including GeorgiaGov. This is just the platform that hosts all the agencies. So it's quite a bit, but just to kind of visualize this information, this chart will actually tell a better story. Right? As you can see, most of the agencies fall in a certain tier. I have this graph based on page views and mobile traffic on these both axes. And then the size of the dot actually is the amount of just pages that a website has at this point. So as you can see, there are a few outliers, and most of them have a very kind of similar place in this chart. There's a good chance that they also have like very similar requirements for that. So there's no reason for everyone to reinvent that wheel, right? So the whole aspect of what it takes to run your website, which is starting with strategy, Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Clearly, we see that people are using certain sites way more than some other sites. So every site has its own goal. Every site has its own purpose, right? And it starts with the strategy part of it. And then obviously your strategy informs your content, because that's what you actually have to offer for your users. And your content should ideally inform your design and how your site is going to be laid out. And then if we get to the core part of it, we actually make that design functional, and then we need a place to host it and maintain that hosting environment. And then obviously we want to make it secure, right? So you don't compromise, you get compromised on anything else, and then obviously we need someone to support it. So this is essentially what it takes to run any website. So if you look at it from like a lens of a Maslow's pyramid, what we are trying to do is kind of take those bottom 3 tiers taken care of for you. So you can just focus on the top 2, which is self-actualization. It was just too big to fit in that little triangle, so I just put self. But that, and the esteem part of it, which is your strategy and which is your content, right? If you just focus on that, the whole belonging aspect of it, which is, hey, I'm part of this enterprise called the state of Georgia. I belong here, so we have these sites that have a certain common look and feel. The whole safety part of it, the physiological, the server hosting maintenance part of it, we take care of that. So this is where we come in, right? So this is where we come in as your partners. And that's why we have, thought of this platform, is let us worry about these things. Let us worry about these things you don't have to. All you focus on is just the content part and the strategy part. And for that, every agency really kind of needs to understand that you need to have a strategy for your website. It's not just enough to have a website, but you need to have some expectations from a website, and you also need to always check periodically if those expectations are met from your website. If not, then what can be changed? And then based on that, how can we swizzle the content? How can we introduce new services? All of that, right? So this was pretty much the drive of us trying to architect this platform. And that brings us to the triumph part of it. So we started the architecture of this platform back in 2011. And then by 2012, we were able to move 55 agency websites on this new Drupal platform within a period of 10 months. All of 2013, we made sure that the platform was bug-free. This was a brand new implementation, right? And if any of us have moved into a brand new house, we know the first year we watch, right? When it rains, when it pours, there are probably going to be some leaks, there are going to be some issues that we're going to have to fix. That's exactly what we did in 2013. Once that was done, right, by then, everyone had heard about what Georgia had done back then. And immediately, Georgia made the national news. Because not only we had built an enterprise-level platform that moved 55 sites at one time in a year, but we had also used an open source technology, which means we didn't have to pay any licensing costs. There was no scalable aspect of licensing cost. And while doing that, and also by hosting this in the cloud, we had saved Georgia about $5 million. We had projected to save them over the next 5 years just by making this technology change. But it was not about the cost, right? It was about the value that this brought to our existence. And that's why Georgia made the news, and the list that you saw early on was pretty much where people invited, like, you gotta tell this story, because we want to do the same thing. Which is great. I was honored to go out and answer every possible question. I've spent a tremendous amount of time working with other organizations, other states, other local governments, just trying to help them figure this out for their own setup. So what we did with the platform was we chose this technology called Drupal. All right, so by now you all know what Drupal is. So Drupal is a web publishing platform. That is the core aspect. This is the core technology that we did use for Drupal. Now, some of the agencies have kind of come to us and told, like, hey, we have someone who could implement a Drupal site for us, right? It's the same technology, but it's different. Yes, we're using Drupal because it was like the second popular web publishing platform. It has like a worldwide community of developers. It has like a gazillion modules available. So we don't have to every time think about something, start from scratch. Something is already developed at least to the basic level that we can build on top of that. But choosing Drupal, what we did was we used a distribution of Drupal called Open Public. Now this was geared towards creating modules specifically for government. It had a big presence in the federal government level, and it was secure, it was accessible, and it had pretty good capacity for workflows. So we chose that, and then on top of that, we customized it further for what our agencies needed, right? For example, GBI wanted like a certain way of showing, say, a missing persons. So we had to customize that further on, versus some other agency would have like a very specific need. So we did a lot of customizations to fit our agency needs, and that pretty much made the GeorgiaGov code base very unique. And this is what actually differentiates us from like the overall Drupal. So for any agencies who kind of like hear about, hey, you guys do Drupal, we do Drupal too, we can do your site. This is not exactly the same. This is not off the street Drupal that you're talking about. Then we started talking about, how can agencies, while they're using the same code base, still be different, right? Because we don't want two agencies to look just like each other. I mean, every agency, based on the vertical they have different tasks, they have different responsibilities. So we wanted to make sure that, again, GBI or Pods and Paroles, they have a very different look and feel than somebody else who might be, tasked with the different requirements. So that's where the Omega theme, which is essentially a presentation layer, that came in. And then based on that, we actually gave you your customized look and feel colors and your fonts, and that's why your site, even though it looks different from the other site, it's drawing the exact same code from a centralized code repository. So think about this from like not just an individual store, but what we did was we built like a shopping complex, right? So we have the provision for the agencies that are the JCPenney's and the Macy's, but we also have provisions for agencies who are more, kind of modest about what their site needs to be, which is more like, well, we just need about 20 pages, 50 pages. That's fine. We don't have anything special requirements. Whatever the base requirements that we have, which can be accommodated in the platform, that's fine. But if there is an agency that requires something which is, no, you know what, my agency has 200 locations, and I want to be able to show my user what is it that that location does, yes, we can still accommodate that. So, equating to that, like if your Macy's store within the same shopping complex is like 3-story and you need your escalators to work in a certain way, yes, we can build that. And that's the beauty of this platform, right? That's the beauty of this platform that, you can actually customize it, you can enhance it, but at the same time, the fact that it is hosted in the cloud also makes it scalable. So we are not confined to a physical boundary, right? And also we saw when we started hosting this, our uptime was amazing compared to what our previous uptime was, 99.98%. So this is really good. And the rest of the uptime that's not there, that's actually scheduled maintenance when you require for the platform to be down. And this is the beautiful part about managed solution, is that we don't have to worry about it as a state. We have partners who worry about it. We have partners who literally roll out of their bed, knowing what they do with this. So we don't have to worry about, oh, wait a minute, something's going to happen, and we'll have to worry about just pushing everything away that we're working on, and then just focus on getting the servers up. Also, the fact that it's a cloud, it's elastic, right? Because these are like thousands of servers, and we're just using a piece of that. And for some reason, if we need to expand it, all we need to do is just spin up some more servers, and boom, our footprint either doubles or like expands to whatever scale that we wanted to expand. So again, going back to the whole, mall thing, yes, you can have like a little strip mall, you can have like a medium-sized mall, you can have like a multiplex mall, right? And still easily be scaled. Having built that, right, we want to make sure everything is secure. Because if you have like your own store, every day you want to make sure you want to lock it, you want to make sure you have the security system on. With the whole managed services part, the security came with it. Not just from a code perspective, but also from a hosting perspective, right? So there was no false sense of security, like you have like a laptop, right? Like, help's on the way, until then you have me now. Like, whoever's watching you is equipped to deal with any level of attacks, is equipped to deal with any level of threats. And we have had plenty, right? Because as government, we are visible. It's a dream for any hacker to have their stamp on our website. And maybe it's their message they want to set across or whatever it is, but just hacking a visible government website is like a trophy for them. And we've had to deal with several of these attacks in the past, which you probably don't even know about because it's all taken care of. Right? There is a body that tells us if something's coming up, and then immediately we let our hosts know, and they have their watchdogs on that attack coming up. If we see, for example, if there is a denial of service attack, which is essentially means someone overwhelms your system with traffic that it can sustain that amount of traffic, and it just all comes down. Right? That's a denial of service attack. In that case, until we isolate those specific IP addresses that are trying to overwhelm us, we can just scale it up to account for like any amount of traffic coming in. That's the beauty of that cloud, the scalability aspect of it. And then, once we isolate it, we can just kill those IPs coming in, and then we are back to our original scale. So we've had some issues like this in the past, but the good part about also this is we are daily backed up. So not only that we have to wait for an attack, but there's an unfortunate event that happens that you just need to revert back to your previous state. You are backed up daily. The most you're going to lose is maybe one day. So that really kind of made us feel about that yes, we actually did something good as far as building this platform is concerned. So once we were done with this, the next we saw was while we were getting all happy and chirpy about like, hey, we have a pretty stable platform, and we saw, what, our mobile traffic is going through the roof. Like people are using way more mobile devices, and everything's now coming through these, new channels. So the next year in 2014, we focused on our web mobility. We made sure that the entire platform was device compatible without having you duplicate your content. So if someone pulls your site on a mobile device, on a tablet, or any level of computer, your site still delivers. It doesn't scale down. When we started doing this, the mobile traffic was kind of like a little north of 20%. Last year it was 45%. And for some sites, it's literally touching 80% now, which is like unbelievable, right? I mean, like literally 80% of people are relying specifically on mobile devices, and some of them only on mobile devices. They never use your site using a regular desktop. So again, because we were operating at the scale that we were the first state to do this. And then again, everyone kind of like cheered us for doing that at an enterprise level, which was great. As we moved further, we also saw that it's not just enough to kind of be catering to any device, but we also want to make sure we cater to every user. And users come in all, kind of disabilities. Unlike mobile devices, there is no real way for us to find out like how many users are blind or how many users have motor issues. But then what we did was we spent 2015 in making sure our platform was accessible. Our platform was accessible to the Section 508, which is the federal standard. Every federal website is required to be Section 508 compliant, and every state website who has a certain program that probably uses federal funds, they are required to be Section 508 compliant. What we did was we used the WCAG 2.0 AA standards, which pretty much are the best standards today, and Section 508 points to that, saying make sure you adhere to these standards. So whenever Section 508 gets updated, that's the standard it's going to embrace. So we already are Section 508 and WCAG 2.0 AA standards compliant. So if your site sits on this platform, you're good. Because if you're not compliant, there's a good chance at some point an organization just might get sued. Because there are users with disabilities now finding that, I'm going to take this as discrimination. Like if you're not going to be making your site accessible for me, then you're literally discriminating against me. That's the equivalent of not having a ramp on a state building, which is impossible. So to make sure we did this the right way, we partnered with the state ADA's office and the AMAC team from Georgia Tech. It's a unit which is just focused on making sure all kinds of accessibility, not just web accessibility, but also physical accessibility, Braille, everything is met, and they're the experts. So we had them do a very detailed analysis of our platform, and what they told us was like, you got everything done well. These are just the few things you need to take care of. And in those few things, we were happy enough to kind of take care of internally. So that was pretty awesome to kind of be able to do that and confidently say that yes, our code, our platform is Section 508 compliant. But that it doesn't end there, right? We have to also make our content accessible. We also have to make our content friendly for mobile devices. And this is where we are now going forward with, is we are focusing now on what is the content that you have on your website. I know having a website is not everyone's like a full-time job, right? Managing a website. Like there are a lot of us who do other things along with that. And this is where we come in to help with you. So we came up with like a few solutions in the last year, and we implemented a few this year where, okay, you have content, but what's the best way of, showing this content? What's the best way of presenting this content? And one of the things that we did this year was we figured out a tool that can help you for your data visualization. We used a Drupal-based tool called DCAN, and one of our pilot projects was with the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. And if you haven't seen this website, by all means, please do. Schoolgrades.georgia.gov. It's an amazing resource to look up like all these reports and test scores and comparisons for all the public schools in the state of Georgia. But this is data visualization, right? A lot of the agencies have their data sitting in forms of PDFs or Excel files. Like it's not the best way of showing data. It's not the most user-friendly way of presenting data. What can we do? Because a lot of times when we just visualize it, it just becomes easier, clearer. And sometimes, in the future, we would love for agencies to collaborate and share data. Because some of the data sets that you might be, holding might be valuable if it's compiled with something else. And that essentially, creates a lot more value. So this is some opportunities that we are, kind of trying to work with agencies. We're also looking at implementing a collaboration tool. Like a lot of you have, expressed your pleasure in the ease of working with Drupal, and you said, I wish we had an intranet that was run by Drupal. And we are trying to kind of get that going as well. There are some solutions that, we would love to implement as far as, collaboration tools are concerned. That brings us to challenges. Yes, there are going to be challenges, right? Because nothing's going to be foolproof. There is one thing that, yes, what we are doing from our side is we're trying to build the platform as bulletproof as possible, as user-friendly as possible. But then when it comes to content, we still see a lot of challenges out there, right? So many websites that we see, we find content in a shape like this. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I know you have a gumball machine, but does that need to be next to the shoes, right? So these are the conversations we would love to have with you. To kind of make sure, like, going back to our user-centric strategy, you're like, what is that you're trying to achieve from the website, right? And accordingly, and this is something, Peter will kind of touch upon in his talk, and as far as content is concerned, what is it that, we can do? Because when the content is presented in a way that is, very user-friendly, it has its benefits, right? Because a lot of times we are always kind of in a mindset of, well, okay, this is what I want on my homepage, and this is where the users might go. But guess what? Your homepage might not be your homepage. Your homepage increasingly is going to be Google, because that's where most of your users are going to be coming from. So for all of your second-level pages, you have to kind of make sure if someone comes from Google, how well is your page presented, and then accordingly, you kind of have to structure your content. There are going to be so many of these ways that you could be using this platform. And Kendra, in her talk, is going to be touching upon some of those things that we have already in the platform, or we're going to be building it for you, that you could be actually using them instead of just having your content out there in an unstructured form. But again, it's all about the user, right? It's literally all about the user, because it's kind of been a long way coming up here, because we have been dealing with the 19th century organization models with 20th century technology. But our users have 21st century needs and expectations from us. And that gives them a chance to just always kind of say, oh, it's government. It's always going to be behind the curve. No, we don't need to, right? There's so many instances around the world that people are doing such awesome things with their web presence, with their digital presence. There is no need for us to be behind. It just really needs to kind of for us to kind of come together as a team to be working towards what our users truly need. And this is honestly where we come in, right? I mean, this is kind of like our model, is we would love to work with you because what we are, building our group towards is the center of digital excellence model. Like we have, just to kind of quickly go through that chart, we have like two main aspects of the team, which the team that looks for the product aspect of it, which is the platform, which is the visualization tool, which is anything else that technology need is requested by an agency. We have people who are equipped with the knowledge to deal with that, and Kendra leads that team. And this is where we want to have that communication. And Johan that you saw early on, and Peter that you already know, they will be going around and talking to you. And Kendra can touch upon this a little more in her talk. But we really want to have that conversation going, right? We want to have that conversation going because we have to think enterprise. We have to think like we are an enterprise. We cannot be siloed. We cannot be one agency and other agency not knowing what the other person's doing from information perspective, technology perspective. It's just not what our users expect. When they look at us, they don't look at like this agency versus that agency. They just look at state of Georgia, right? So in our presence, we have to kind of make sure that we leverage this tool, this platform that we have built, which is so user-centric, but it definitely requires, agencies to kind of meet us as far as content is concerned, as far as data is concerned. So going forward, what I would love for you all to do is, kind of stay in the loop. And if you haven't been to interactive.georgia.gov, please bookmark that. It's our internal website. And honestly, what we do there is we post a weekly blog featuring best practices, featuring some of our projects, what we have done, what we have been doing, if there are certain, different projects that we're working on, or if somebody else has worked on something awesome that we just want to feature. It's typically on a weekly basis, it's a 10-minute read, but it's so worth it. It's also, something that we want to open it to you all. If you all want to contribute to it, we'll be happy to talk to you about and, get your ideas on it. We also have policy standards and guidelines up there because a few months ago, a couple of years ago actually, we kind of had a good team across agencies come together, and we had come together with a certain understanding of this is how we want our enterprise presence to work. And that's an ongoing project, and at some point we're going to come back and have an update to those policy standards and guidelines, and some of those have been kind of, for example, accessibility has been signed as a state standard. So all our sites have to be accessible. So there are certain standards that are, something that agencies have to follow, but there are also a bunch of guidelines, there are a bunch of, other policies that you would need to know. Because again, this is something we have to do it as a team, as a collaboration between us and you. And when I say team, it's not just us, it's all of us. Because we can help you with the best technology, but you're the owners of the content, right? I mean, you know the driving force behind it, you know the legislation behind it. And we can never aspire to kind of know it as well as you do, but we can definitely work together and make Georgia really the best web presence ever. So thank you. That's all I had, and this is. Thank you. I can't tell you how awesome it is to kind of go around and tell what we are doing in Georgia already. Where I see other states that are like, wow, that's great what you guys are doing. So I really want to keep it pushing. So thank you again.